Good morning, everybody. Today I wanted to give you a quick tutorial on how to add Miniq2 to your website. Right now I am on my home page here, and you'll notice that I'm in the Pages uh, selection over on the right side. You have those three things we talked about. Pages is in the middle, Insert is on the left, and then Themes is on the right. So we've all had a chance to try out a theme and to get that going, and I hope that you found a theme that you like and that's working for you. Today I am on Pages, and right now I should have hyperlinks that link these images and these words here to that EQ, either EQ1 page or EQ2 page over here. And that's what we did last week. And if we click on our EQ2 page, we'll see that we have the same type of thing here where we have a title at the top, and we change that image in the background and change the header type if you wanted. Down here we have an answer that is a text box. If you go over to the insert selection up here, we just added a text box here, and if you see, whenever you add a text box, you just start typing in there, and you can change the font by changing it to those. Remember, you can hit trash when you don't want something anymore, or if you accidentally hit trash, hit undo, and it will undo your mistake. So if you look here, once again, we've got our title, we've got our text box by adding this, which is a short answer to what is matter. Then underneath that text box, we have this guy here, which is Miniq1, what are elements, compounds, and mixtures. And you notice with this, remember that we did a collapsible text, which is this one over here on the right at the very top of the menu, collapsible text. That allows us to type an answer, type a question, and then underneath it, type our answer. So that's what you're going to be doing today with Miniq2. What's the difference between a physical change and a chemical change? So I'm going to run you through that, give you a little tutorial here, and that way you can pause it and redo some things if you make a mistake or you can't quite get something going. As always, I'll take questions on our next class period. Either it's going to be Wednesday or Thursday for you if you can't figure these things out. So let's go ahead and get to it here. So first off, a little review. Underneath are elements, compounds, and mixtures. We have our answer here. Elements are substances that can't be broken down. Compounds are two or more elements chemically combined, and mixtures are elements, compounds, or both mixed together but not chemically combined. And then underneath that, we added in three images, and we chose three images, the three image format, because our question had three things: elements, compounds, and mixtures. So we chose the layout over here. Once again, I'm under layouts, and there are three pictures with three text boxes underneath them. And we went ahead and just used the first text box underneath here and wrote element and compound and mixture. Now we could change that a little bit if we want to, and this will show you kind of what we're going to do today. Gold is an element. Maybe we want to write a sentence. And maybe we want to go back here and say, you know what, how about water is a compound? And then finally, sand is a mixture. That's another option that you can have if you want to write an actual sentence underneath it, kind of like a caption to the image. So there's that. All right, there's Miniq1. That should be on your website. If you don't have that on your website, you need to make sure to get that on your website, where you type out Miniq1, the question, and then you answer it underneath it in the collapsible text. So let's get to Miniq2, which is your task for today. So you've watched the Brain Pop video, the 3-minute video on what's the difference between chemical change and physical change. You have read the article on what's the difference between chemical change and physical change. You have some examples probably. And then at the end of that article, you saw that there's some key ideas that are, or there's some key examples that are hard to tell, like a metal alloy, meaning a mixture of metals, or dissolving salt in water. So make sure you read that article and make sure you watch that video before you answer the question here. So I wanted to show you what we're going to get to is something like this. Miniq2, what's the difference between a physical change and a chemical change? And then we'll have our drop-down menu with our answer. And I'll also have the two layout pictures, which is over here, which is the second choice. Why two? Because in our question, we have two things: physical change, chemical change. So I think it's appropriate that we use the two picture layout. So we'll say bye-bye to that. Okay, we'll try to find something similar to that. And we'll say bye-bye to this. All right, so this is what you probably have right now as you are starting this tutorial. First off, I went ahead and entered in a divider. I think the dividers make for a good break in the text if you check the preview, or a good break in the website. If you check the preview, it's this just faint little line under here, and you'll see how that kind of works as we add our Miniq2. So if we want to add Miniq2, when we click on the divider or wherever we're at, notice it highlights in blue. That way when we add something, it'll be after that. So remember, what we're adding is this thing right here, Miniq1, what are elements, compounds, and mixtures. There are two choices you can do. You pick whichever one you like. First one is, you could just be clicked on the divider or whatever is at the bottom of your page, right? That's just an easy way to do it. And then click collapsible text. And you could start from the beginning. All right, and you could type in Miniq2. What is the difference between a chemical, oh, you know what, I think we said physical first. It doesn't really matter which one is first. Physical change and a chemical change. So what's the difference? That might have been the worst typing job I've done in a long time. Sorry about that. Miniq2, what's the difference between a physical change and a chemical change? Now notice up here, I wanted it like this, right? So it's title and bold. So I want to match that. Make sure whatever style you're using, you use title and bold, or whatever it is that you're using. Make sure these are the same. That just helps out in the formatting of a website. All right, or let's trash that, and I'll show you the other way you can do this. As you start getting to this, if you like this heading thing already, just duplicate it over here. So highlight this, right? Or hover over this, and then you'll see duplicate. And you can move that down below the divider. See, this is just another way to do this. And then I just highlight that, and I have my format on both things all ready to go. So what is the difference between a physical change and a chemical change? All right. So that way, by duplicating it, saves all of the stuff, how it's formatted, and then I just erase the part I don't want and retype. So that is an option there, okay? And I wanted to show you that. Okay, so then you should write an answer in there, right? And in our answer, we want to include definitions of both and examples of both. So maybe I could start with a physical change is a change in matter that only alters the form or appearance of an object. Something like that, right? That's textbook definition there. And I'm answering physical change first because in the question, physical change is asked first. That's just a good rule of thumb no matter what class you're in. Answer in the question, look in the question, and then in your answer it in the order that it's presented in the question. And after that, I'm going to give some examples. Okay, so for example, water condensing overnight on grass is a physical change, and that's what we call dew. And that's what happens. Water in the air actually condenses down on the grass. Water vapor in the air condenses down on the grass when it cools at night, and then that water actually is in liquid form on the grass. So that's what dew is. That's a physical change. And maybe that's one I read about or an example that was in the reading. That's up to you, okay? And then I'm going to pick a picture that shows that example. That's going to be key. And if you write 2 or 3 examples in there, that's fine. But whichever one, if you mention it in your writing, try to find a picture of it in underneath it. All right, now I'm going to say a chemical change produces a new substance. And you know what? That's not enough, is it? A chemical change is a change in matter. Let's say that. That produces a new substance. And that may make you think, oh, wait a minute. You know what? I didn't say that in a physical change. So maybe I go back up here. A physical change is a change in matter that only alters the form or appearance of an object. It does not, or it doesn't, produce a new substance. And remember what we talked about? That is our key idea with physical change versus chemical change. All right, so I'm bouncing around a little bit there, but that's how you'll do your writing. You can think of ideas and you can say, oh yeah, I need to add that to it, or maybe I'll change that to that one. And now we have a chemical change and an example, a chemical change definition, and now we need a chemical change example, don't we? So from your reading or from the brain pop, I might think, all right, a campfire is a good example of a chemical change, okay? It also relates to that question we had, is fire matter? So I'm going to say, for example, comma, this is the easiest way to present an example. For example, comma, a campfire burning is an example of a, excuse me, I'm not going to say example again, that's redundant, is a chemical change. Okay. So I might even make an overall statement. We haven't talked about this yet, but see that word overall, comma, it's one word. You may just wrap things up and say, okay, overall, a chemical change produces a new substance. Let's say this. Let's change this a little bit. Overall, a chemical change may change the form or appearance of matter, just like a physical change. However, a chemical change produces a new substance, and a physical change does not. Something like that, okay? Now, that's a longer answer, and it basically includes a couple different parts. This is all I want at the bare minimum for your answer. You can go more if you want, all right? But at the bare minimum, I would like a definition for physical change, an example, at least one example of a physical change. If you want to do more than that, that's fine. A definition for chemical change, and at least one example of a chemical change. Now you can add a couple closing statements to kind of wrap up the main idea of this mini Q, but there we have about a paragraph, don't we? So that's what we're looking at, okay? So at the minimum, we need a definition and examples, and then if you want to add a closing paragraph or a closing sentence or two, awesome, great. All right, so there's that. You've got that. One thing I did notice, little side note, see as I hover and it says edit footer, I know some of you guys were having trouble with your website and doing these strange things on all the pages. If you have that problem, it may be because you have something in the footer. The footer is the opposite of the header. The header's at the top, the footer's at the bottom. So if you accidentally change that, or if you see this thing that can't be, that appears on all your pages, it might be because you have the footer selected. Anyways, now we have the question, right? We have the answer. Now we're going to add this layout here with two images. All right, and we're going to find an image. Remember, hit the plus sign, hit select image, go to Google image search. This is the easiest way to do it. I'm going to write condensation on grass and see what I get. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I mentioned that as an example. Let me use one of these images, which I think looks kind of neat. Let's try, that looks kind of neat. Insert that. well, it's not really a high quality image. So let's say we want it a little clearer, right? So remember, we hit the three dots, we go replace image, select image. I'm going to try that again. And let's try to find a better image that's a little clearer. That one might be pretty good. Let's see how that looks. So you select your image, and hopefully it replaces. Yeah, that's clearer, that's better. I think I like that. And then in the bottom I could say, or how about water condensing on grass is a physical can't tell I'm not used to typing on this computer. Water condensing on grass is a physical change. Cool. Then we go over here, and we had a campfire in our example, remember? So I'm going to try to find a picture of a campfire. So campfire, let's see what we get. All right, there we go. Yeah, this is the picture I had before. This one looks kind of cool. Let's try this one. And add that. Let's see if it's nice and HD. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so I could say a campfire is a chemical change. And yeah, there are physical changes within a campfire. Okay, that might be a question you have. That's a great question. But overall, we're going to say a campfire is an example where the logs are burning, you have the flame, you have the smoke, you have the heat. That's an example of a chemical change. So there you go. You did it. All right, you added that on there. Thanks for paying attention. Let's preview that and see. All right, we've got our Mini-Q2. What is the difference between a physical and chemical change? I have the drop down with my answer. Remember, we have a definition for each one and examples for each one. Then I took the examples and I put a picture. That's a powerful thing to do by using the examples you mentioned in the text as your images. Okay, so use that to your advantage and check that out. So that might make you change your examples in here just to get them to match the pictures, or vice versa. Change the pictures to match your examples. So there it is. You did it. We should have EQ2 title, EQ2 text box, Mini-Q1 question, Mini-Q1 answer, 3 pictures for our Mini-Q1 with a short caption underneath them. And then today we did Mini-Q2, what's the difference between a physical change and a chemical change. We typed up our answer. We added 2 pictures. We added a caption to each one of those, and we are done for the day. Nice job. I will see you guys either on Wednesday or on Thursday, and please email me if you have any questions. All right, take care. Have a good day. Bye.